Welcome back to Post-CHOGM 2018, the review. We'd like to hear your thoughts. We'd like you to join the conversation at home. You can follow any of the Twitter handles that will be appearing on your screen in just a minute, at Channels TV, at UK in Nigeria, at Paul Arkwright, and at Femi Adesina, using the hashtag CHOGM 2018. Back in the studio, well, we did say we will talk about some of the issues we raised at CHOGM. Trade, I know, was quite the main topic. And I remember Theresa May saying that there needs to be freer trade amongst Commonwealth countries. Why has there been an impediment to that? And why are we seeing more and more Commonwealth countries participating in trade outside of the Commonwealth and not amongst Commonwealth countries?
Well, I would challenge what you're saying about a reduction. Actually, world trade, of course, has increased enormously. And trade between two Commonwealth countries is 20% cheaper through understanding of the same rule of law, language, bureaucracy, etc. It is 20% cheaper for two Commonwealth countries to trade than for a Commonwealth country to trade with a non-Commonwealth country. And there is massive trade between the countries. There is huge trade between the UK and Nigeria. India is one of the world's biggest trading partners for Nigeria, for all sorts of countries in the world. So there isn't, I would argue, there hasn't been a massive diminution. There's a very big increase globally. And what the government has said and what CHOGM was about was actually how to increase the intra-Commonwealth trade by reducing barriers, by facilitating trade between these the countries, and not just with the UK. You know, in Nigeria, it's often said that, or that I think the thinking is that the Commonwealth is the UK. The UK is not the Commonwealth. There are 53 countries. There are 52 other countries in the Commonwealth apart from Nigeria. Nigeria trades with India. That's a Commonwealth trade. But
it is more difficult, we have found, trade amongst African countries in the Commonwealth. Ambassador Keshi.
Well, even our trade with India, I think it's not conducted, you know, I don't know, but I don't think it's conducted under that Commonwealth umbrella. I think it's conducted on a bilateral basis with India. And that's the way we deal with most of these other, these other countries. But look, I guess the High Commissioner is right in what he said about the reduction. But there are 2 or 3 ways you can look at this. First, from our own perspective, we need to develop quite a lot to be able to trade. You must be sure of what you trade with the rest of the world. So we need to do a lot in this country to improve and to generate the things that we can trade with. If we have a broad items that we trade with, we definitely be able to trade not just with the Commonwealth, but with the rest of the world. You know, the second thing is that the rest of the world, particularly the Western world, must also open up to enable us trade. During this Commonwealth, there was a press conference by the British Prime Minister on the issue of trade, again opening up. She didn't give a reply to the Nigerian journalists who asked questions on that same issue, you know. And I'm just mentioning this to say that I do realize the challenge a number of nations face in trying to protect their own, our territory and so on. But if we're really serious about our commitment to the Commonwealth and as a family, and I think that's the language, towards a common future, we must be prepared to open up space for us to be able to trade together.
Mr. Adesina, the President talked about the advantages, the achievements, of his government, in that regard. Would you like to refresh our memory, perhaps, and just talk more about what the President has done, within the Commonwealth?
Yes, you know that the administration came with a 3-pronged agenda: secure the country, fight corruption, and revive the economy. A few days before the Commonwealth meeting itself opened, he had a bilateral meeting with British Prime Minister Theresa May, and those 3 things featured. So wherever the President goes, he repeats that those are the 3-pronged agenda, and the 3 are work in progress. The achievements may differ from one to another in terms of how far we have gone, but the 3 are proceeding apace. Security, maybe before the recent challenges that we have in different parts of the country, we know that the government did very, very well with security. You had him on the clip you played recently, that in 2015, by the time the administration came, not less than 17 local governments were under Boko Haram occupation. By occupation, they were running the local governments. They were actually sitting in emirs' palaces and administering those domains. But today, not one local government, not one town is under full control. What they do now is strike and vanish. So, apart from other security challenges that are coming up, we know that the government did very well about security, and the president repeats that wherever he goes. And of course, anti-corruption. You cannot fight corruption alone. In fact, isolationism is not the order of the day again in the world. If you are going to fight corruption, you must do it in concert with the rest of the world. And of course, reviving the economy. You also need the rest of the world.
What is Jamaica's view on protectionism? I mean, is that a concern for you? Is it easier for you to trade amongst Commonwealth countries? Because I find that more and more African countries are looking to China. I'm sure you don't agree, but it is true. And more African countries in the Commonwealth are looking more to China for trade.
Yes, protectionism is a problem. One of the things that concerns us is that in multilateral trade arrangements, that due account should be taken of the special needs of small countries in terms of their diseconomies of scale, for example, and for developing countries as a whole, they're being at a different stage of development than other countries may be, and we feel that that ought to be taken into account in trade arrangements. We're pleased that one of the things coming out of the communique is a commitment to have a financing arrangement for the export of products from SIDS, small island developing states. But yes, it has been a challenge, especially for a long time. There used to be tariffs on value-added goods coming from developing countries, whose situation, as a result of the legacy of colonialism, had put them in a situation of only having primary goods to export, and having the value-added goods imposed, having the taxes, the barriers to trade on value-added goods was seen as an impediment to further development. But I think some positive things have come out of the recently concluded CHOGM in addressing such issues.